The grand hall of the Galactic Council stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the massive space. Some floated in special tanks filled with methane gas. Others hung from the ceiling on silk threads. A few glowed with their own light in the darker corners. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the back section marked New Species. Her simple gray uniform looked plain next to the colorful displays around her. The Zephyrians wore robes that changed colors with their moods. The tentacled ones from the outer rim had jewelry made from living crystals. Even the slug-like Morvanes had decorated their shells with precious metals. Sarah did not mind sitting in the back. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago. They were still learning how things worked. The other species seemed friendly enough, though most ignored the humans completely. The council meeting had been going on for 3 hours. Sarah listened as different species talked about trade routes and mining rights. The Crystalline Collective wanted better prices for their energy crystals. The hive mind complained about space pirates near their borders. Standard political business. Next item, announced the council speaker, a tall being with 4 arms and skin like tree bark. Integration report for new species. A Zephyrian delegate stood up. His crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. The quarterly report shows good progress with our newest members. The Aquatic Federation from Sector 7 has established 3 new colonies. The Stone People have opened trade with 12 different species. The delegate continued reading from his data pad. Species designation Terra 3 from the Sol system shows normal development. Their primary world appears to be a standard agricultural planet with basic resources. The inhabitants are bipedal mammals with average intelligence. Nothing particularly noteworthy to report. Sarah frowned a little. She knew humans had impressed some people with their fast space travel development, but she supposed they were still pretty new to all this. During the break, Sarah walked around the Great Hall. She wanted to learn more about how the council worked. Near the center of the room stood a very old being. He looked like a giant slug, but his shell was covered in beautiful patterns. Dozens of other species approached him with questions and requests. "Excuse me," Sarah said politely. "Are you Keeper Morvain?" The ancient being turned toward her. His eye stalks moved to focus on her face. "Yes, young one. I am the Keeper of Records. How may I help you?" "I wanted to ask about our species entry in the official records," Sarah said. "I noticed some small mistakes in today's report." Morvain's translator made soft buzzing sounds as it processed her words. "Of course. We always want our records to be accurate. What corrections do you need?" "Well, the report called our world Sol 3, but we actually call it by a different name." "Ah yes, local names are important for cultural identity," Morvain said kindly. "What does your species call your homeworld?" "Earth," Sarah replied with a smile. The translation device made a strange clicking sound. Then it went completely silent. Morvain's eye stalks froze in place. His whole body went rigid. Around them, other beings had been talking and laughing during the break. But now the conversations began to stop. The translation had been broadcast on the general channel, as all official council business was. Sarah noticed that several nearby species had stopped moving entirely. A group of the floating aerial people slowly drifted backward. The insectoid delegation's antenna started twitching rapidly. "Did you say Earth?" Morvain whispered. His voice came out in a strange, scared tone. "Yes, that's what we call our planet," Sarah confirmed. "Is there a problem?" Morvain's shell began to change color, shifting from its normal blue-green to a pale, sickly yellow. "Young one, are you certain that is what your people call your world? There is no mistake in translation?" Sarah was getting confused. "Yes, I'm sure. We've always called it Earth. It means ground or soil in our language. Why? What's wrong?" The translation device made another series of clicks and buzzes. Then it spoke in a voice that could be heard throughout the Great Hall. "Warning. Ancient protocol activated. Security alert. Ancient protocol activated. Red." Lights began flashing around the room. A loud alarm started blaring. The sound made Sarah cover her ears. All around the hall, beings were panicking. Some species ran toward the exits. Others huddled together in frightened groups. The floating ones rose higher toward the ceiling as if trying to get as far away as possible. "Emergency session," the council speaker announced, his four arms waving frantically. "All delegates return to positions immediately. Emergency session, now in progress." Sarah hurried back to her seat, but now everyone was staring at her. The friendly beings who had nodded politely before now looked at her with what could only be described as terror. The council speaker called for order, but it took several minutes for the panic to die down. When things finally got quiet, he spoke, in a very serious voice. "Keeper Morvain, please explain the nature of this emergency." The old slug-like being moved slowly to the center of the hall. His shell was still that sickly yellow color. "Honorable delegates, our newest member has just revealed information that activates ancient security protocols. Protocols that have not been triggered in over 50,000 years. A murmur of fear ran through the crowd. The species we know as Terra 3 has informed us that their world's actual name translates to— Morvain paused as if afraid to say the word. Death World. The hall erupted in chaos again. Some beings fainted. Others made horrible screaming sounds. The crystalline collective's light dimmed so much they almost disappeared. Sarah stood up, confused and frightened. "Wait, there's been a mistake. Earth just means ground or dirt. It's not a scary word." But no one was listening to her anymore. The council speaker was shouting orders. Security guards from a dozen different species were moving into position. Around the hall, emergency lights continued to flash. "All delegates from potentially affected systems will be contacted immediately," the speaker announced. "Ancient archives must be consulted. The eternal vaults will be opened for the first time in millennia." Sarah tried to get someone's attention, but every being she approached backed away from her in fear. Finally, a young tentacled one whispered to her from across the aisle. "They're scared because the archives contain warnings about forbidden worlds. Places so dangerous that contact was banned forever. We thought they were myths." "But Earth isn't dangerous," Sarah protested. "We have cities and farms and schools. Children play in parks. We're not monsters." The tentacled one's skin turned a pale green color. "The translation system doesn't make mistakes about important words. If your world's name means Death World, then your people evolved on a planet that should have killed everything that tried to live there." The emergency session continued for hours. Ancient beings who had been sleeping for centuries were woken up and brought to the council. Old computers that had not been used in ages were activated. Deep in the archives, sealed vaults that had been locked since the early days of galactic civilization were being opened. Sarah sat alone in her section, watching the chaos she had accidentally created. All she had wanted was to make sure Earth's name was spelled correctly in the official records. Now half the galaxy seemed to think humans were dangerous monsters from a forbidden world. But as she watched the fear in the eyes of beings who could travel between stars and build cities in space, Sarah began to wonder. What exactly did they know about Earth that humans did not know about themselves? The ancient archives deep beneath the council building had not been opened in over 40,000 years. Dust particles floated in the air as massive doors slid apart with grinding sounds. The walls were lined with storage devices from dozens of different civilizations, some so old that their creators had been extinct for millennia. Keeper Morvain moved slowly through the narrow corridors. Behind him followed the council's most senior members. The eternal sage of the crystalline collective glowed dimly in the darkness. High Counselor Vextar of the Arachnoid Empire clicked nervously with his 8 legs. Even the ancient AI core, called the Memory, had been awakened from its long sleep. The last time these vaults were opened was during the Devourer crisis, Morvain explained as they walked. When the galaxy-eating swarm threatened all life, we searched every record for weapons that could help us. "And what did we find?" asked Counselor Zephyra, her crystal body casting dancing lights on the walls. "We found warnings," Morvain replied quietly. "Warnings about things too dangerous to use, even to save the galaxy." They reached the deepest level of the archives. Here, the oldest records were kept in special containers that protected them from time itself. Morvain approached a vault marked with symbols from the first galactic age. The writing was so ancient that only a few beings in the galaxy could still read it. Forbidden Worlds Archive, Morvain translated, sealed by order of the First Council, may only be opened during galactic-level emergency. The vault required keys from 5 different species to open. As the final lock clicked, stale air rushed out that had been sealed away for 50,000 years. Inside were crystal storage devices, containing the galaxy's most dangerous secrets. Morvain picked up the first crystal with trembling hands. Planet designation unknown. Local name translation Death World. Status quarantined indefinitely. The ancient records began to play on holographic displays around the room. The images were grainy and hard to see, but they showed a blue and green planet orbiting a yellow star. Initial survey report. A long-dead voice spoke from the crystal. Survey Team 7 has completed preliminary scans of the planet the locals call Death World. Recommendation: immediate quarantine. No species should ever be allowed to make contact with this world or its inhabitants. High Counselor Vextar leaned forward, his compound eyes reflecting the holographic light. What did they find that was so dangerous? The record continued. The planet's gravity is nearly double that of standard habitable worlds. The atmospheric pressure would crush most known life forms. Deadly radiation from the local star bathes the surface daily. Weather systems regularly produce winds that exceed the destructive force of most military weapons. Counselor Zephra's light dimmed. That sounds like a typical hostile environment. Why the extreme quarantine? The geological activity is beyond anything in our databases, the ancient voice continued. The planet's surface reshapes itself through violent processes. Massive plates of rock crash into each other with forces that could shatter moons. Molten rock erupts from the ground without warning. The ocean floors spread apart and create new land. The memory AI spoke for the first time, its voice like whispered metal. Standard hostile environment parameters. Many species have evolved on difficult worlds. This does not explain the quarantine level. The next crystal contained biological surveys. What it showed made even the bravest council members step backward. Life on this world has evolved according to principles that should be impossible, the ancient biologist reported. Instead of cooperation and symbiosis, the primary, evolutionary pressure appears to be violence. Every species on the planet has evolved specifically to kill other species. The holographic display showed creatures that defied understanding. Massive predators with teeth like swords. Flying creatures that hunted in coordinated packs. Plants that could dissolve flesh with their touch. Ocean dwellers that could crush metal with their grip. The apex predators on this world regularly hunt and kill creatures larger than themselves. The voice continued. They show intelligence, cunning, and a level of aggression that our behavioral models cannot predict. Most disturbing of all, some species appear to kill not for food or territory but for what can only be described as enjoyment. High Counselor Vexitar made a clicking sound of disbelief. Evolution does not work that way. Species that waste energy on unnecessary killing. Out, not on Death World, Morvain said grimly. He activated the next crystal. Final report. Intelligent life detected. The dominant species shows all the characteristics we have observed in the planet's other life forms. They are persistence hunters, who can track prey across vast distances. They have developed tools specifically designed for killing. Most alarming, they appear to have domesticated some of the planet's predators and convinced them to hunt alongside them. The holographic display showed primitive humans working with wolves to hunt massive creatures across frozen landscapes. The intelligent species shows problem-solving abilities focused primarily on survival in impossible conditions. They create shelters that can withstand the planet's violent weather. They have learned to make fire in environments where most species would freeze to death. They consume the flesh of the planet's predators and appear to thrive on it. Counselor Zephra's entire body began to pulse with nervous light. They eat the predators? How is that possible? Their digestive systems can process toxins that would kill most galactic species instantly, the ancient voice explained. They appear to have evolved immunity to most biological warfare agents. Their healing capabilities allow them to recover from injuries that would be fatal to any civilized being. Theo, Memory AI processed the information with electronic sounds. This explains the quarantine. A species evolved under these conditions would be the ultimate biological weapon if released into civilized space. The final crystal contained the most disturbing information. Long-term observation shows that this species does not just survive. On their death world, they appear to enjoy the challenge. They deliberately seek out the most dangerous areas of their planet for recreational purposes. They compete with each other in activities that would be considered torture by galactic standards. The holographic display showed humans climbing mountains in freezing storms, diving into oceans filled with predators, and running incredible distances through hostile terrain while smiling. Most concerning of all, the ancient voice concluded, they show strong protective instincts toward their young and their groups. A species with their capabilities that also shows pack loyalty and protective behavior represents an unprecedented threat to galactic civilization. Therefore, by unanimous decision of the First Council, Planet Deathworld is hereby quarantined indefinitely. Warning beacons will be placed throughout the system. No species is to make contact with this world or its inhabitants. The universe depends on maintaining this isolation. The archive crystals went dark. The council members stood in silence, processing what they had learned. Finally, High Counselor Vextar spoke. The quarantine beacon. Has anyone checked on its status recently? Morvaine's shell turned an even paler shade of yellow. The beacon has been silent for over 50,000 years. We assumed the species had died out, as most do on such hostile worlds. But they did not die out, Counselor Zephyra said quietly. They developed space travel. They left their world, and now they are sitting in our council chambers. The memory AI calculated probabilities with rapid electronic sounds. If the ancient records are accurate, we now have representatives from a quarantined Deathworld species in direct contact with galactic civilization. The exact scenario the First Council sought to prevent has occurred. Morvaine looked around at the terrified faces of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. The question now is, what do we do about it? Above them, in the council chambers, Ambassador Sarah Chen was still trying to understand why everyone seemed so afraid of humans. She had no idea that deep below her feet, the galaxy's leaders were discovering that her species had been considered too dangerous to exist for the past 50,000 years. Dr. Kethavar had studied alien biology for over 300 years. As the galaxy's leading expert on how different species evolved, he had seen every possible variation of life. His spider-like body moved quickly between laboratory stations as he prepared for the most important analysis of his career. The Galactic Council had given him a simple task: study human biology and determine if the ancient records were true. Were humans really the nightmare species from the forbidden death world? Ambassador Sarah Chen sat patiently on the examination table. She had volunteered for the tests, hoping to prove that humans were not dangerous monsters. I don't understand why everyone is so scared, she said as Dr. Kethavar attached monitoring devices to her arms. We're just regular people. Dr. Kethavar's compound eyes focused on the readouts from his instruments. The first results made him pause. He ran the tests again, certain there was an error. Interesting, he muttered, making notes with 4 of his 8 legs. Your bone density is approximately 3 times higher than the galactic standard for intelligent species. Is that bad? Sarah asked. It suggests your species evolved under extremely high gravity conditions. Most civilized worlds have gravity similar to my homeworld, about half what you are used to. Dr. Kethavar moved to examine her muscle structure. Your muscular system is also highly unusual. The scans showed muscle fibers that were incredibly dense and efficient. Sarah's legs alone contained more power than the entire body of most galactic species. Have you ever lifted anything heavy? Dr. Kethavar asked. Sarah shrugged. I helped my friend move furniture last week, a sofa and some bookcases. Why? Dr. Kethavar quickly calculated the weight she described. The sofa alone would require the combined strength of 6 arachnoids to lift. You lifted this by yourself? Well, my friend helped with the sofa, but I carried the bookcases alone. They were not that heavy. Dr. Kethvar made more notes. Each bookcase would have been impossible for him to move even with mechanical assistance. The cardiovascular tests produced even more disturbing results. Sarah's heart was like a biological engine, capable of pumping blood at pressures that would burst the circulatory systems of most species. Her lungs could process air in conditions that would suffocate civilized beings. "Tell me about your world's atmosphere," Dr. Kethvar requested. "Normal air," Sarah replied. "About 20% oxygen, 80% nitrogen, some other gases." Dr. Kethvar's legs almost gave out. 20% oxygen would be toxic to most galactic species. The arachnoids breathed a gentle mixture of gases that was only 3% oxygen. Anything higher would burn their lung tissue. "You breathe poison," he whispered. "What?" "Never mind. Let us continue." The blood tests revealed the most frightening discoveries. Sarah's immune system was not just strong, it was like a biological army designed for warfare. Her white blood cells could identify and destroy threats that the galaxy's best medical scientists had never encountered. "Have you ever been seriously ill?" Dr. Kethvar asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "I caught the flu last winter. Had to stay home for 3 days." Dr. Kethvar checked his translation device, certain it was malfunctioning. "You were infected with a disease organism and recovered in 3 days?" "Yes, it was annoying. I missed a work presentation." The doctor's notes grew more frantic. Most galactic species required weeks or months to recover from serious infections, even with advanced medical treatment. Many diseases that were minor inconveniences to humans would be death sentences to civilized beings. The neurological tests showed a brain that operated at speeds Dr. Kethvar had never seen. Sarah's reaction time was faster than most species could think. Her brain could process multiple complex problems simultaneously while maintaining awareness of her environment. "We will test your reflexes now," Dr. Kethvar announced. Without warning, he released a small ball near Sarah's face. Her hand moved so quickly that the doctor's eyes could not follow it. She caught the ball before it had fallen 6 inches. "Was I supposed to catch that?" Sarah asked. Dr. Kethvar stared at his instruments. Her hand had moved faster than most military defense systems could track. "How did you know to catch it?" "I saw you drop something. It seemed natural to catch it." "Natural." Dr. Kethvar made more notes. What humans considered natural reflexes were beyond the capabilities of the galaxy's most advanced combat training. The psychological evaluation was the most disturbing part of the examination. Dr. Kethvar showed Sarah images that were designed to test fear responses in different species. The first image showed a massive predator with enormous teeth. Most beings would show immediate terror responses. "Oh, that looks like a saber-toothed cat," Sarah said calmly. "We had those on Earth long ago. Humans hunted them to extinction." Dr. Kethvar displayed an image of violent environmental destruction. "Storms, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions. Looks like a bad day," Sarah commented. "Though the volcano is pretty, we have some beautiful ones on Earth. People like to hike up them." The doctor showed her an image of combat between armed forces. Sarah frowned. "That looks like historical warfare. Very sad. Though the tactics they're using are not very good. Any human military unit would have won that battle in minutes." Dr. Kethvar put away the test images. Sarah had looked at scenarios that would cause most species to faint from fear, and she had commented on them like a mild weather report. "Tell me about human entertainment," he requested. Sarah brightened up. "Oh, we have lots of fun activities, movies, sports, games, music. What kind of sports do you enjoy?" "I like rock climbing and martial arts. My brother does something called extreme skiing, where you go down mountains that are almost straight up and down. My grandmother likes marathon running." Dr. Kethvar translated these activities in his mind. Rock climbing meant humans deliberately put themselves in positions where falling would mean death, and they did it for fun. Martial arts were combat, training that humans practiced as recreation. Extreme skiing was intentionally launching yourself down a mountain at deadly speeds. Marathon running was forcing your body to operate beyond normal limits for hours. And this is considered entertainment? Sure, humans love challenges. The harder something is, the more fun it becomes. The doctor's final report took him 3 days to write. He had to check his findings dozens of times, unable to believe what his instruments had recorded. When he presented his conclusions to the Galactic Council, the hall fell into absolute silence. "Honorable delegates," Dr. Kethvar began, his voice shaking. "I can confirm that the ancient records were completely accurate. Humans are indeed from the quarantined death world." He activated his presentation. "Human beings are not just adapted to survive in hostile conditions. They are living weapons that achieved consciousness. Their bone density, muscle structure, cardiovascular system, immune response, and neurological capabilities exceed the peak performance specifications of our most advanced military enhancement programs." The holographic display showed comparisons between human capabilities and galactic military standards. A baseline human child possesses physical strength that surpasses our elite soldiers. Their reflexes are faster than our targeting computers. Their psychological conditioning allows them to treat mortal danger as recreational activity. High Counselor Vextar leaned forward. "Are you saying they are a military threat?" "I am saying they are evolution's answer to the question, what would happen if you took every survival trait possible and combined them into a single species? They are biological perfection designed by a world that tried to kill them every single day for millions of years." Dr. Kethvar paused, looking around at the terrified faces staring back at him. "The most disturbing part is that they do not even realize how dangerous they are. To them, their capabilities are normal. They consider us to be fragile and weak, but they are too polite to mention it." In the back of the hall, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat quietly, still trying to understand why everyone was acting so strangely. She had no idea that the galaxy's greatest scientific minds had just confirmed that humans were the most perfectly designed killing machines in the known universe. Admiral Zorthek of the Vorthan Empire was not impressed by the galaxy's panic over humans. He had conquered 12 star systems with his elite Void Raiders. His cybernetically enhanced warriors were the finest fighters in known space. The idea that some primitive mammals from a backwater world could threaten galactic civilization was ridiculous. "The Council has lost its mind," he declared to his officers aboard the flagship Dominator. "One frightened scientist runs some tests, and suddenly, everyone thinks these humans are unstoppable monsters. They are just another weak species that got lucky with space travel." His second-in-command, Commander Vexarin, studied the intelligence reports. "The biological analysis does suggest they have unusual capabilities, Admiral." Admiral Zorthak laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his helmet speakers. "Every species thinks they are special. The Crystalline Collective claimed they were invincible until we shattered their home fleet. The Tentacled One said their coordination made them unbeatable until we cut their communication links. These humans will be no different." The Admiral had a plan to prove his point. The Vorthans would stage a small piracy raid near human space. When the humans responded, his Void Raiders would defeat them easily. Then the galaxy would see that humans were just another ordinary species that could be conquered like all the others. "We will make it look like independent raiders," Admiral Zorthak explained to his strike team. "Attack a human cargo vessel, take some hostages, demand ransom. When their military responds, we destroy them quickly and escape." Simple. The Vorthan strike force consisted of 5 advanced warships and 200 Void Raiders. These warriors were the product of generations of genetic enhancement and cybernetic implants. They could survive in hard vacuum. Their reflexes were enhanced by computer implants, and their weapons could cut through military-grade armor. The raid began perfectly. The Vorthans intercepted a human merchant vessel called the Lucky Strike, near the edge of human territory. The cargo ship was defenseless, carrying food supplies to a mining colony. "Attention human vessel," Admiral Zorthak broadcast. "You are now prisoners of the Crimson Fang pirates. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." The human captain, a middle-aged woman named Torres, responded calmly. "We don't have anything valuable, just food and farming equipment." "Your government will pay for your return," the Admiral replied. "Prepare to be boarded." Captain Torres sighed. "I've already sent a distress call. The Marines are on their way." Admiral Zorthak was pleased. This was exactly what he wanted. "Your Marines will find more than they bargained for." The human response arrived 18 minutes later. A single ship dropped out of hyperspace, a vessel that looked crude and primitive compared to Vorton technology. It was called the Angry Badger, and it carried exactly 47 human Marines. "This is Colonel Martinez aboard the Angry Badger," a human voice announced. "You have attacked a civilian vessel in human space. Release the hostages and surrender immediately." Admiral Zorthak could not believe what he was hearing. One ship with fewer than 50 soldiers was challenging his entire strike force. "Human. Colonel, you are outnumbered 4-1. Your primitive technology cannot match our superior firepower. Withdraw or be destroyed." "Yeah, we get that a lot," Colonel Martinez replied. "Last chance to surrender peacefully." The Admiral decided to end this quickly. His 5 warships opened fire on the human vessel with enough energy to destroy a small moon. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The human ship did not try to dodge the incoming fire. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the Vorthon fleet at speeds that should have torn apart any vessel. The Vorthon weapons struck the human ship repeatedly, but its armor absorbed impacts that would have vaporized other vessels. "Impossible," Admiral Zorthak shouted. "Nothing can survive that much firepower." The Angry Badger returned fire with weapons that seemed primitive, but hit with incredible accuracy. Each shot was perfectly placed to disable Vorthon systems without destroying the ships entirely. Within minutes, 3 of the Admiral's vessels were drifting helplessly with their engines and weapons offline. "All units fall back to boarding formation," the Admiral ordered. "Prepare for close combat." This was what Vorthons did best. Their Void Raiders were unmatched in ship-to-ship combat. The Admiral was confident that once his enhanced warriors got aboard the human vessel, the battle would be over quickly. The boarding pods launched from the 2 remaining Vorton ships. 200 of the galaxy's most elite soldiers jetted through space toward the human vessel. Their enhanced bodies could survive the vacuum, their computer-guided weapons never missed their targets, and their combat experience spanned dozens of conquered worlds. The human ship's docking bays opened to receive them. The Void Raiders landed and charged inside, expecting to find terrified humans cowering behind weak barricades. Instead, they found 47 humans waiting calmly in what appeared to be some kind of gymnasium. The Marines were not even wearing full combat armor, just simple uniforms and basic protective gear. "Welcome aboard," Colonel Martinez said politely. "I'm required to give you one final chance to surrender." The lead Void Raider commander laughed through his helmet speakers. "You are outnumbered 4-1, human. Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our armor." "Actually, we're not planning to use weapons," the colonel replied. "The ship is too small for gunfire. We'll do this the old-fashioned way." Before the Vorthons could ask what that meant, the humans attacked. What the Void Raiders experienced in the next 17 minutes was beyond their training, their expectations, and their worst nightmares. The humans moved like living hurricanes. They were faster than the Vorthons' computer-enhanced reflexes could track. They hit harder than industrial machinery. They seemed to predict every move before it was made. The enhanced Vorthon warriors, who had conquered star systems, found themselves being systematically dismantled by humans who fought like it was a casual workout. The Marines threw the void, raiders around the room like children's toys. They bent supposedly indestructible armor with their bare hands. They knocked out cybernetically enhanced soldiers with what appeared to be gentle taps. "This is impossible," the Vorthon commander gasped as a human half his size lifted him over her head. "Our genetic enhancements make us superior to any natural species." The Marine, whose name tag read Garcia, looked genuinely confused. "Enhanced? You guys seem pretty normal to me. Maybe a little slow." She set him down carefully and patted his helmet in a friendly way that cracked the reinforced metal. The battle, if it could be called that, ended when the last conscious Vorthon realized that the humans had been holding back the entire time. Not one Marine was injured. They were not even breathing hard. Colonel Martinez activated his communication system to contact Admiral Zorthak, who was watching in horror from his command ship. "Admiral, your boarding force has been neutralized," the colonel reported. "They're alive, but they'll need medical attention. Also, we're going to need coordinates for returning them to your government." You defeated 200 Void Raiders? Admiral Zorthak whispered. Well, defeated seems like a strong word, Colonel Martinez replied. We just explained that they were trespassing and asked them to calm down. They got a little excited, but they're fine now. The colonel paused, then added, Oh, and Admiral, you might want to upgrade your warriors' training. They fight like they've never seen real combat before. Admiral Zorthak looked around his bridge at his surviving officers. These humans had just destroyed his entire strike force, and they were offering medical assistance to his soldiers. They had treated the galaxy's most elite warriors like unruly children and were politely requesting directions to return the prisoners. What are you? He asked quietly. We're Marines, Colonel Martinez replied, as if that explained everything. Look, we need to get these guys to a medical facility. Some of them seem to have panic attacks when they realized how gravity works on our ship. Is that normal for your species? The transmission ended. Admiral Zorthak sat in silence, trying to process what had happened. His most advanced warriors had been defeated by humans who considered it a light training exercise. His superior technology had been outmatched by what the humans called old-fashioned methods. The worst part was that the humans genuinely seemed concerned about the welfare of their prisoners. They had not acted like conquerors or warriors. They had acted like adults dealing with children who had misbehaved. The report of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. The footage from the Vorthon helmet cameras showed humans moving and fighting in ways that defied every known law of physics and biology. Military experts watched the recordings over and over, unable to understand how baseline humans without any enhancements could defeat the galaxy's finest enhanced soldiers. But the part of the recording that terrified military leaders the most was the very end. As the unconscious Vorthons were being loaded onto medical transports, one of the Marines turned to another and said, That was good exercise. We should do this more often. The other Marine replied, Yeah, but next time let's bring the advanced training team. These guys barely made us sweat. The galaxy realized with growing horror that what they had just witnessed was not humanity's military might in action. It was 40. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 days straight. Representatives from every major civilization packed the Great Hall. Military advisors, scientists, economists, and philosophers all struggled with the same question: how does the galaxy coexist with humanity? High Counselor Vextar stood at the center podium, his 8 legs trembling slightly. The footage from the Vorthon incident has been analyzed by our best military experts. The conclusions are troubling. The holographic display showed the battle aboard the human ship, slowed down so other species could follow the action. Even at reduced speed, the human movements looked impossibly fast and powerful. 47 baseline humans defeated 200 of the galaxy's most enhanced warriors, the High Counselor continued. Our analysis suggests that these Marines were not even trying their best. They treated it as routine training exercise. The Crystalline Collective's representative pulsed with nervous light. What are our defensive options? General Korath of the Military Planning Division had spent the last week running computer simulations. His report was not encouraging. Every scenario ends the same way. If humans decide to become hostile, there is no known defense. Their homeworld has prepared them for every possible combat situation. The holographic display showed comparative analyses between human capabilities and galactic military technology. The results were devastating. Human reaction speeds exceeded computer targeting systems. Human strength surpassed mechanical enhancement. Human endurance outlasted automated systems. It gets worse, General Korath continued. Humans have been sharing their cultural databases with us, their entertainment, their history, their recreational activities. They are all based on scenarios that our militaries would classify as impossible combat situations. The display showed clips from human movies, documentaries about human history, and recordings of human sports. To galactic viewers, it looked like training footage for the most advanced military force imaginable. They watch videos of their own species fighting overwhelming odds and winning, and they call it entertainment, General Korath explained. They study historical battles where humans defeated enemies with superior numbers and technology, and they call it education. They compete in activities that would kill most of our soldiers, and they call it fun. Ambassador Sarah Chen had been listening to all this from her seat in the back. Finally, she could not stay quiet anymore. She stood up and cleared her throat. "Excuse me," she said politely. "I think there might be some misunderstandings here." The entire hall turned to look at her. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy focused their attention on the small human woman in the simple gray uniform. "You all seem to think humans are some kind of terrible monsters," Sarah continued. "But we're really not. We're just people trying to get along with everyone else." High Counselor Vextar clicked nervously. "Ambassador Chen, your species' capabilities have been scientifically verified. The evidence cannot be denied." Sarah smiled. "Oh, I'm not denying that humans are pretty tough. We had to be, growing up, on Earth. But tough doesn't mean evil or dangerous. We use our strength to protect people, not hurt them." She walked toward the center of the hall, and beings instinctively moved away from her path. "You're all acting like we're going to attack you. But look at what we've actually done since joining the council. We've shared our medical knowledge to help treat diseases. We've offered engineering assistance for building in difficult environments. We've provided food production techniques for hostile worlds." The council speaker nodded hesitantly. "This is true. Human contributions have been helpful. Because that's what humans do," Sarah explained. "When we see someone in trouble, we help them. When we see something dangerous, we put ourselves between it and anyone who might get hurt. That's what our strength is for." Keeper Morvain raised one eye stalk. "But the ancient records clearly state that your world was quarantined because your species was too dangerous." Sarah interrupted gently. "Maybe the ancient records got it backward. Maybe Earth wasn't quarantined to protect the galaxy from us. Maybe it was quarantined to protect us until the galaxy needed us." Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the council building. Emergency lights flashed red as automated systems activated across the hall. "Priority alert," the central computer announced. "Long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures approaching from the galactic rim. Estimated arrival, 7 hours. Classification, unknown. Threat level, maximum." The main display showed sensor readings from the outer monitoring stations. Something enormous was moving toward the galaxy's inhabited systems. The energy signatures were unlike anything in the databases. "The size readings must be wrong," General Korath muttered, studying the data. "Nothing could be that large." High Counselor Vextar enhanced the display. What they saw made the entire hall fall silent. Ships the size of small moons were approaching in formation. Hundreds of them. Behind them came something even larger, a structure so massive it defied understanding. The memory AI activated its ancient archives and processed the incoming data. When it spoke, its electronic voice carried a tone that might have been fear. Classification, confirmed. Entity designation, the Devourers. Status, active. Last recorded appearance, 53,000 years ago. Previous encounter result, near extinction of galactic civilization. The hall erupted in panic. Some species fainted. Others began evacuating immediately. The Devourers were the galaxy's oldest nightmare, a hive mind that consumed entire star systems, turning all matter into more of themselves. Emergency defensive measures, High Counselor Vextar commanded. Activate all military fleets. Mobilize. Planetary defense systems. General Korath was already coordinating the response. All available ships are moving to intercept positions. Estimated time until we can establish a defensive line. 6 hours. "Will it be enough?" someone called out. General Korath looked at the projections. "No. Our combined fleets will slow them down, but we cannot stop them. The Devourers have had 50,000 years to grow stronger." In the midst of all the chaos, Ambassador Sarah Chen calmly activated her personal communication device. "Sarah to Earth Command," she said into the device. "We have a situation out here. Large hostile force approaching. The locals could use some Help. The response came immediately in a crisp military voice. Copy that, Ambassador. What's the threat assessment? Sarah looked at the display showing the approaching Devourer fleet. Looks like some kind of hive mind with really big ships. They've apparently done this before. The Galactic military says they can't stop them. Understood. Terra fleet is moving. To your position. ETA 4 hours. Tell the locals to stay back and let us handle this. Terra fleet? Sarah asked. Expeditionary Force 7. 300 ships, 20,000 Marines, full planetary defense support. Should be enough for a standard hive mind engagement. The communication ended. Sarah looked around at the panicking council members. Help is on the way, she announced. High Counselor Vextar stared at her. You called for military assistance? How many ships are coming? 300, Sarah replied. The High Counselor's legs nearly gave out. 300 ships cannot stop the Devourers. It took the combined might of 1,000 civilizations to barely survive their last attack. Sarah looked genuinely puzzled. Oh. Well, if 300 isn't enough, they can call for reinforcements. Earth has more ships. How many more? General, Korath asked quietly. Sarah thought for a moment. I'm not sure of the exact number. A lot. We built them for exploring dangerous areas of space and defending against hostile environments. You know, typical human stuff. 4 hours later, the human fleet arrived. What dropped out of hyperspace was not 300 ships. It was 300 vessels that each looked like they could fight entire fleets by themselves. They were built, like everything humans made, to survive in impossible conditions and keep working no matter what happened to them. The lead ship opened communications. This is Admiral Park of Terra Fleet Expeditionary Force 7. We are here to assist with your Devourer problem. The Devourer hive mind, which had been broadcasting demands for surrender, went silent when it detected the human fleet. After a few minutes, it sent a single message. Unknown species identification required. Submit to analysis or face consumption. Admiral. Park's response was polite but firm. This is Admiral Park of the Human Terran Federation. You are threatening our friends. Please withdraw immediately. Compliance irrelevant, resistance irrelevant, you will be consumed. Yeah, we get that a lot too, Admiral Park replied. All right, people, looks like they want to do this the hard way. Remember, we've got civilians to protect, so keep the collateral damage to a minimum. What followed was not a battle in any sense that the galaxy understood. It was a demonstration of what happened when an unstoppable force that had consumed civilizations for millions of years met beings who had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. The Devourers had never encountered anything like humans. Their hive mind, which had calculated the defeat of thousands of species, could not predict human tactics. Their massive ships, 7 humans,